Kevin Towe here, Fight Designer LLC. Yeah, you know what? I'm not just a fight designer. And I got to revisit that recently, thanks to Northwest 10 Playwriting Festival that OCT hosts in its 18th year this year. That was actually their theme, Old Enough to Vote. It's funny, one of the actresses also turned 18 during Tech Week and was old enough to vote. Real community theater here, wide range of Northwest playwrights, directors, actors, so before we even cast, I was already getting into the design aspects of this show because there was no design team really. And one of the reasons why this show ended up coming to me was that it called for some puppetry, and I thought that sounded fun. Something I don't get to play with that often, and hadn't in a while. You know, briefly on some shows before, but not a ton. And so this show that I was doing, Moon Farm, involves some dogs who are part of the early space program, and you know, it's fantasy. They're talking, they're having conversations. One of them's a chain smoker, but in the end, they go romping on the moon. So I knew I needed some dog puppets. The script is called for like basic, you know, third grade arts and crafts shadow puppets. But I said that's no fun. If I'm going to do this, I want to do something a little more interesting. But I wanted to keep with the sort of zero budget aesthetic of this whole production. So I went with cardboard, chewy boxes for the most part, which I thought was kind of apropos. And I just started experimenting and building. And this is really just, you know, using scraps. There's a string that I used here that was from when my father used to sit in faculty meetings at the University of Maryland and tie up the string that they used for packets of interdepartmental mail, and he'd just tie all the little loose ends into a ball. So really just trying to scavenge and reuse. But, you know, I cheated a bit as well. You know, there's also some other puppets I'll show later where I got a little more technique. But, so it was an experiment. I hadn't done this style of puppet before, but I'd always kind of been interested in doing it, whether it was for, you know, She Kills Monsters or whatever, I don't know. So yeah, just using bits of, you know, Franzia box wine handles used up top. Using just bits of cardboard and just trying to see how I can find the right balance between allowing them to move in the ways that I want them to move and not move in the ways that I don't want them to move. So that if we don't have a super talented puppeteer with 6 arms to individually move every single piece, what's going to sit decently on its own otherwise? And some of this I started before I'd actually cast it. So there was a little speculation as to, well, what kind of personalities are these characters going to have? There were some interesting things that I had to figure out. There were a couple different attempts on things like how to do the feet. I originally started a little more two-dimensional with the cardboard, and then in later iterations I kept adding more texture. So I'd kind of topo map it a little bit and then do the mache over that to get a little bit more thickness in like where the muscles would be. And the ribs really help the torso kind of keep its shape, as well as give it a little bit more structure. And even just a little curve in the back really helps sell it, so that it's not just square. Because, again, boxes are square. I don't want it to look like a box. So you got the one older dog, and I love the kind of droopiness of the basset hound kind of thing. That ended up working great with the actor who portrayed it. I was able to find him a hat that works really. You can see the little cigarette dangling out of his mouth. That's again, the character who's constantly chain smoking. And then you got the younger puppy type. So for him, I wanted a tail that could wag as well. So most of the actors hadn't done much with puppetry before, if anything. So it was a fun process, letting them kind of experiment. Sometimes it works great. There's times when they're supposed to be bouncing in zero gravity. So I was trying to get that kind of like moonwalk thing. There's a little moment of suspension. And the leap off of the 2 back legs and the land on the 2 front legs actually works better with these puppets. Real dog running, if they're just walking or running, they'd be doing opposition. So front right, back right, front left, or front right, back left, front left, back right, and diagonally opposite limbs. That's really hard to design. I would have had to like make a gear system or something, and yeah, it wasn't worth it for that. But for the leaping, the basic action of leaping, I thought it would work. But we did end up especially with the older dog, sometimes had sort of a like jetpack flying dog effect. So one thing I tried to do to help with that also was just give it a longer handle. So you can see some of these, I added a little extension handle and then made that more permanent just so that Larry didn't have to bend over as much, and to encourage it to spend a little more time on the ground. And that worked fine. So yeah, they were popular. The paws, that was an interesting thing. Rounding off the front helped a little bit, just that it didn't like want to go folded. And also if you kind of like flip them out a little bit and then drag them back, that tends to help them, land clop clop to the front, as opposed to rolling over on themselves and getting folded up in weird ways. I wish that I'd had like more time to really explore the puppetry as a part of the show, because it really was a highlight of the night. But pick your battles. We also had to learn lines and everything else. Yeah, so keep the butt high if you're doing like the play crouch thing. Yeah, try to get the front paws on the ground, and just kind of and neck a little more forward. Yeah, there you go. Nice. And that, a little butt wiggle while you do that. We'll give a nice kind of like I want to play sign. Yeah. Yeah, if you can make slightly bigger waves, you might be able to get that tail to move a bit. Yeah, there you go. See how that makes the tail move? Yeah, good. And if you stay a little higher, I think those feet will stay actually on the ground rather than coming like, yeah, there you go. Right there. That's perfect. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing you can't lift one back leg at a time. So the kind of last moment of this is they formed the image of a children's book cover. And that's the part where the shadow puppetry would have made it easiest and been the most obvious choice. So for that, I tried hand building a projector with like magnifying Fresnel sheets and things and flashlights, and I got it to work to where I could focus, but I could just never get it big enough and bright enough. So I had to give up on that. I liked the stage magic idea of, can you see an actor build this thing and bring this thing to life on stage in front of you? That's theatrical magic. In a way that something that's just, tech magic, where someone pushes a button and it goes on, just isn't as interesting. We have remote controls at home. Like, that's not magic anymore. So I had this kind of steampunky thing I built, and it wasn't bright enough, sadly. So we used the main projection for that, and I just made that book image in Canva. But since I was kind of starting with the cardboard dogs as like my aesthetic anchor point for this show, and it's the night of scenes, it was 8 different scenes, and just using stage blocks. So I kind of wanted to add to that aesthetic throughout. So I touched base with them, like how much is too much, whatever. So the compromise I came up with that they went with is allowing me to do these kind of covers for the stage blocks. So the set also sort of has that same kind of mache aesthetic, scrapped together like cardboard greebles and switches, and the others mention of like put your paws on the beep boop beeps, the little buttons, and reading gauges, octane levels and stuff that's in the script. Plus I left the idea of a ashtray in the spaceship because it makes no sense. I also ended up building in a little kind of screen kind of thing that actually was to hold cue cards in case the older actor needed it. Larry was using cue cards for a while there, and I thought that might help. In retrospect, I should have moved all of that a little bit closer to him. I was trying to find the right balance between giving them space to lean on things and roll around on things, but also be able to access the stuff they needed to access. So, it's compromise. But it was fun kind of like doing arts and crafts cardboard greebles for a while. And then there's some other elements here, briefly puppetry. There's the rocket launch in the beginning. That's a video light that I used, and I just put some of the Mylar streamers from some previous event on those to catch the light. And again, paper mache housing that just fits over it. And there's the lunar lander, which was also mache, and has a portable backup battery inside it, basically. And I found these little lights that just plug into the USB ports, and they just light up when they're plugged into a USB. So those worked great for the little like jet engines on the bottom of the lander module. And then to kind of continue that and to give Tom away as ground control, to not just be a disembodied voice, I built him a little console that just belts on, so he's got like his little monitor. And I put a little O-bulb like light underneath there to give it kind of a glow. I was hoping that would be enough light to give him kind of his own special, as it were. It ended up being a little too dim and not really working great. So we had to adjust for the rockets as well. Like, you don't just see the light of the engine, you want to see the rocket too and be able to recognize that it's a rocket and not just flame. So we ended up, Riley was great at working with me on adjusting the light levels so that we could try and dial that in by the end. All these pictures are from dress rehearsals or early rehearsals, things like that. But you can see how the dogs ended up. This is me just before packing them up. Now, there may be one more chance to see this because there's nothing official yet, but they tend to run the last scene from Northwest 10 at the OCT fundraiser as well later in the spring. So there may be another chance in a month or so to see these again for anybody who is interested. And then I'll have to decide what to do with them. Limited storage space. But anyway, I know when I was starting this journey, I was curious about what other people had done with puppets. I did a little research on, research in the 2026 sense of I watched videos and looked at Pinterest boards. And so I posted a couple little short clips of works in progress on Instagram, things like that, as I went. But I didn't want to do anything too spoilerific before the festival was done, and it just closed last Sunday. So there we go. The Puppets of Moonfar. So anybody who's interested, I periodically post stuff on this channel about my theatrical exploits, and often around stage combat, because that's often what I'm doing, but it's not all I do. Probably like a decade back, I went ahead and kind of split off anything involving theatrical and film firearms to the PewTube channel that I also made, our sister channel. So PewTube's had some more stuff lately, because I've also been working on some custom props for a film project and testing out new things and all. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. I hope this was helpful. I think it's a little different from what I usually cover in this channel. So maybe it's not exactly on brand, but that's what made it interesting to me. I don't want to just be the fight guy. I don't want to just be the gun guy. I also direct. I also have acted. I also have written. And so it's always nice when I can revisit some of these things. So until next time, Kevin Inoue, Fight Designer LLC, and take care.